You want to? Okay.
It's official now.
Very official.
Are you going to start with whenever you're
You're good. Recording
Go.
started. Go, Ev.
Show the first slide, girlfriend.
I can do that. Wait, I'm renaming Carol, then I'll do it. I lied to you. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine. I kind of can't believe that this is membership meet number 10.
So cool.
That is so cool. And we're going to continue them. So we'll let everyone know. And at the end of this one, I'm going to ask, some ideas for some future ones. But the ones we've done so far have been really exciting and providing a lot of great information. And this one, I want to go swipe it. Nope, that's not what I do. Next slide, Alexis, please. So this one is one that I think many of the members have been asking for a membership meet specifically talking about youth membership, and what perfect opportunity to do this with 942 Quartet. So youth membership and retention, building the future of SAI with 942. Next slide. So who do we have on our call today? Just a quick shout out. For those of you that don't know me, it's Evelyn. I am Region 15's membership coordinator. We've got Alexis, Region 15's marketing coordinator. Raise your hand.
Hi, it's me.
We've got Zeb Saki, the communications coordinator.
Hello.
And we have Deanna Sargent, our events coordinator, and Jennifer Weissman, who is one of the associate members.
Hey there.
And we have a couple of guests from outside of the region, so welcome to them, and welcome to all of us that have shown up on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And then we have our special guest stars here, our presenters, 942 Quartet, Mackenzie Bigness, the tenor of 942, Christina Valentino. I can't see you all, but Katrina Tulawicki, our baritone, sorry.
You're part of the group of.
I know, and I take a special, a special anti-ownership on them, I think. Katie Sheeran, 942's bass. I'm going to give, next slide, sorry, the voice is seeming, I haven't talked much this morning, which is not when you usually see me, I've talked. Do a quick introduction, then they are going to go through their presentation, youth membership and retention, have a little section for comments, conclusions, and then really focus on, again, the importance of course culture and a sense of belonging. And I think this is something that they're going to be touching on in this presentation, but also something that we have over the last 9 presentations actually focused on as well. And then talk a little bit about our topics for future discussions. So what they're going to be going through, next slide, please, is recruitment and first impressions, creating a sense of belonging and community, education, the importance of education, growth and opportunities, and navigating barriers to participation, administrative readiness, and youth safety. Before we start with their presentations, just a little background for those of you that don't know about 942. And it is 942, not 942. And they are a group of 4 longtime friends who first discovered their love for music, theater, and barbershop harmony in room 942. their high school chorus room. Does it still exist? Is it still, the chorus room still 942? No,
No,
right?
since they renovated there right after we left, of course, they renovated. 942 no longer exists, so
Rip.
Wow.
it's just us now.
It lives on through us.
It
Yep.
lives on. In August, okay, I did say that like the New Yorker that I am. In August 2025, 942 was named Rising Star Champions at the Sweet Adelines International Rising Star Quartet competition in Tulsa, Oklahoma, creating, yes, everybody, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks.
Creating a milestone that strengthened their commitment to performing and to supporting ongoing youth involvement in barbershop music. They've since enjoyed singing for community audiences, youth programs, Sweet Adeline events, uh, BHS events, yes, BHS events, proudly representing their home of Region 15, the Spirit of Syracuse Chorus, and the next generation of barbershop singers. So welcome, thank you, 942, and we can get started.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Here. Okay, next slide.
Yes.
Okay, this is me. I'm going to talk a little bit about recruitment and first impressions. So, just like what to do when a youngin walks in your room for your course for the first time. I kind of had a bunch of thoughts this morning I jotted down to add to this too. When it comes to recruitment, I was thinking about events we do with Spirit of Syracuse. Like we do a Christmas concert, well, like a holiday show, and then we did something in the summer where we invited guests to come until like 8:30 and our rehearsal went till 10 and we would sing like 2 to 3 songs with them and then continue our rehearsal on after so that there was like kind of a small step into like joining the chorus or seeing if it's the right fit for you without being like, here's our contest set too. So it was like a nice way to like loop everyone in. And that wasn't like limited to youth members. Like that was for anybody who wanted to come and try us out. So I thought that was like a really great way. We got people to be interested in the chorus, and a lot of people have since joined since we did those kind of events. When people walk in the room, a lot of what I'm gonna say has to do with our experience in Spirit of Syracuse, but when we have new people walk in the room, like it's always important to approach somebody and make them feel welcome, especially if you have those few minutes before rehearsal where everyone's in their kind of like little groups. It can be intimidating, especially as a young person, to walk into a room full of adults, and feel like you fit right in a way. So always good to have somebody to approach them and be like, hey, welcome to our chorus. Here's what we need. Usually having a folder of music we're working on at that time, and like an outline of what we do in chorus is great. And then I know when we start rehearsal, we'll like have new or visiting guests stand on the risers with us for warm-ups, and then usually our director, Sky or Alicia, will pull them to see like what kind of voice part they want to sing and help them with that. Then they come back with like a colored thing. It's really fun. Anyway, um, yeah, I think mainly just the biggest thing is making sure you're laying out exactly like what's expected of people too, and knowing that if a young person is walking into a room, especially if you don't have a lot of members of their age yet, that they're probably like a little bit anxious and being aware of that and just making sure like you're doing your best to find ways to help them fit in. That's all I
So let me ask you, the youth are wondering, all these ideas, all these questions are going through their heads at the time of walk. I think it takes a lot, or does it take a lot to walk into a room where you don't know anybody, or you may only know one person?
Yeah, I not to step on Christina's toes, but I think we, just for some context, we all had our first experiences with barbershop through the Spirit of Syracuse. Sky Harris was our high school chorus teacher, introduced us to barbershop, but still, even though we knew her and knowing that she was going to be on the risers with us, walking into a room full of adults who have been doing this for a long time and had the experience at us walking into that room at 14, 15, 16 years old can be very intimidating, as it would be for anybody walking into a room full of people that you don't know. But I think that with that age gap there is a certain layer of you are a child essentially, and you are being viewed as a child, which I'll talk about in the next slide with creating a sense of belonging as well. But trying to realize that from a chorus member perspective, in that they are walking into a situation that is so foreign to them, and any sense of uncomfortability essentially could be the this isn't for me thing. So kind of understanding that walking into a room of adults is scary, and understanding those thoughts of what will I do? Am I going to mess up? Will I fit in? Those thoughts are going through their head, as they would be for any member, but we're just speaking from our own personal experiences, having joined as youth members. Understanding that those thoughts are going through their head is important to that recruitment and retention aspect of things.
I swore I wasn't going to say anything until you all were done, but I think relating it, those of you that know me know that that's now possible. I think it's really important for us to understand the uniqueness of youth membership, but also be able to relate it to, there clearly is a uniqueness of being a youth member, and that's even different when you're 15, 16 to when you're 20, 21, 22. But for many, and last time, and someone asked the question about attracting members of color. It's similar thoughts, but this is one that I think these individuals are uniquely capable of addressing. Sorry. Thank you. Next slide.
So kind of circling back, and all of this ties into each other, and like Evelyn said, a lot of membership methods that you're going to use and things may overlap. There is a lot of overlap between regular membership and youth membership. However, there is that uniqueness to youth specifically, and trying to open that door is extremely important, especially when they may be coming to chorus as a 15-year-old and being exposed to barbershop for the first time, or they may be coming as a 23, 24-year-old. That's also considered youth, as we know, in the world of Sweet Adelines. So trying to understand those differences as well is important too. But one of the first things that I thought about when looking to discuss creating belonging and community is the importance of having names remembered. And I think that, again, this goes through membership in general, but speaking specifically from a youth perspective, when we talk about belonging, one of the most simple and effective things you can do is to remember people's names. When a young person walks in the door, instead of just saying, oh, hey, like the kids are here, whatever, that can be intimidating. Spirit of Syracuse has done a fantastic job of including all of us in that way. But there are, in multiple experiences, times when we've walked in and we feel singled out as the kid, and you don't want to feel like that. You want to feel an equal. You're going and you're contributing the same thing to the chorus as all other members, so you want to be treated as such. And when you're walking in and you're just being told, oh, hey, you, or compared to being addressed by your name and, hey, Christina, it's good to see you again, it can be a way to make them feel noticed and feel acknowledged and feel as equally important as the other members on the risers. So just addressing that you're glad that they are there. Kind of like I just mentioned, it's really important that youth don't feel like the kid in the room. I know across the board, it's an interesting dynamic from when we all joined the chorus when we were 15, 16 years old to now as 24, 25, 26-year-olds, 27-year-olds. It's interesting that some ways that we were perceived and addressed as 15, 16-year-olds, sometimes we still notice that in our age group now because we joined when we were youth members and people still view us in that light, which is totally understandable. You remember someone based on your first impression of them. But trying to understand that as you are growing as a human, the youth are also growing with you, and acknowledging that they are growing into real adults with full-time jobs and doing things rather than just being kids who are coming as a guest or joining as a member. But even when they are the kid in that role, don't view them like that, because I guess in a way you're kind of setting yourself up to have that perception of them for a while moving forward. And ways that you can kind of mitigate that is by making them feel included, including them in conversations. Like Christina said, when they walk into rehearsal, sometimes you might find you're walking into a room and there are certain groups of people who are having conversations before rehearsal. You want to make them feel included in those, asking their opinion on things. And one of the simple things you can do, no matter how big or small of a task it is to give youth members real responsibilities, whether that's helping move chairs for a performance or something larger like being involved in membership or music team responsibilities. I think that small leadership moments go a long way rather than making them feel discluded in the way that just because they're young, they have no real say. I think that that's something that pushes a lot of youth members away. So kind of forming that small leadership growth from the beginning into larger roles can go a long way. And leadership can be something very small. It doesn't have to be anything like appointing them team leader 6 months after joining the chorus at 15 years old. Obviously, there are levels of experience that you want in certain roles, but trying to slowly pass the torch and things are important. I think that friendships are one of the biggest things that keep people, specifically youth, coming back. But again, that is something that goes across the board. Music might be what sparks their interest, but relationships are what make people stay. If the only time that they feel that they can talk to people is during rehearsal and it feels very formal, it's harder to build that connection. But if people start to form bonds with them, or if people start to form bonds by inviting youth members to sit with them, grabbing snacks together, like joking around, you don't have to become immediate besties outside of chorus, obviously, especially with an age gap that can be difficult, but making them feel included and forming those friendships, even in a simple way, makes rehearsal not be something scary, but something that they look forward to socially and musically. Again, social connection matters just as much as music. If the rehearsal culture feels cold and stressful and transactional, like people are showing up to give money and be able to sing and do what they signed up for essentially with nothing more, the youth and other members are going to pick up on that really fast. But if you include times in your rehearsal to laugh and celebrate small wins and just check in with people and how they're doing, that creates that safe space in your chorus culture that you want for all members and youth specifically. Even just something simple like starting rehearsals with if your chorus is small enough and you have the time to do it, or if you just ask a few people to share some maybe highs and lows of their week, things that they have going on, if people are willing to share, that can just be a simple social aspect to incorporate to build that social connection, which I think is very important, especially for youth who may not feel connected or like they have a lot in common with other members anyways. Another big thing to remember is that belonging is more important than talent, which I'm sure all of your courses and experiences have instilled in you from the minute you joined Sweet Adelines. A young person doesn't need to walk in already confident or skilled to deserve a spot in the room. And if we only praise the best singers or correct youth more harshly than adults, it sends the message that they have to earn their place, which obviously we never want to happen. I think instead, when we focus on encouragement and growth and just giving subtle reassurances, showing that you're glad that they're there, you're showing them that their presence matters and not just their sound. I think that's important. And then finally, inclusive language really matters. The words that you use can either help someone feel included or, even if it's in a quiet way, make them feel like they don't belong. Using gender inclusive terms like singers or instead of ladies, I think that a lot of the times courses and people in general can just get into the groove of looking in a room and saying, "Hey ladies, how are we doing?" But even if it's not a prominent issue at the time, that could quietly discourage someone from coming away and I think or from coming back. And I think that youth are very aware of this because this is our generation. There are generational differences in what we look for in culture, which we know just from everyday life. But just trying to be inclusive and very simply saying singers instead of ladies and being thoughtful of how we talk about voice parts and roles in the chorus can make a huge difference. It's a very small shift. It can seem like a lot, but ultimately it is a small shift in the grand scheme of things. And for a young person who's still figuring out who they are, it can be a very big difference of someone feeling respected instead of singled out.
Katie, there was a question, and you may want to address this a little bit, and I think we'll address it in future slides. But Jen Weissman asked, I'm curious whether when members under 18 first visited the chorus, whether they came on their own or whether they were accompanied by an adult member of the chorus, family member, etc. I know from go ahead, you can address what you know, and then I probably know some stuff or
Yeah,
You
I
can go
think that this is something that Mackenzie has to address when we talk
okay.
about administrative readiness and youth safety, those types of things. So I will let her handle that either now or when we get there.
Okay, sounds good. Just know, we'll keep that on the
Yeah.
back. Mackenzie, you want to address that now or during your?
No, I mean, I'll touch on it later, but I did just want to say we have had both experiences. Like, I know me personally, when I was in high school, I was dropped off by my mom. She said, "Have a good night, and I'll pick you up at 10," you know. So I came in by myself, but we have had in the past youth members that have come with another adult. It wasn't necessarily, I don't think, had anything to do with age. It was more so just to, and again, I'll talk about this a little bit more, but to kind of monitor, the group that they are leaving their children with. Luckily enough, my parents knew, like Katie said, my parents knew the chorus and Sky, so it was sort of like it was okay, and it was a trusted place for me to be dropped off to. But this experience I don't think was as familiar. So somebody came with their child to a rehearsal, and actually came to a couple of our rehearsals too, just to sit and to hang out, and again, but just to monitor, kind of where they're bringing their kids.
And there's
Yeah,
a
I think my
difference.
or, sorry.
There's a difference between coming to chorus and outside events. So and I think she'll address that, outside events, there does have to be that's our rules. But another example, Alicia came when she was 15 years old. She joined with her mother. So, was that necessary?
Yeah, I think every experience is really different with that. I had a similar experience to Mackenzie, except my parents didn't really know Sky or the chorus that well. They knew that it was something I had attended a youth festival. My parents knew that I had an interest in that. And then I said I wanted to join the chorus, which they didn't really know anything about. So of course had some questions and got in contact with some people on the management team in the chorus to make sure that they kind of knew what their child was signing up for. But she was ultimately still comfortable enough to drop me off there for rehearsals and things. But I really do think it depends on the child and parent relationship and the parent's comfortability with the chorus, especially when they are under 18.
And there is something in place again that I think they're going to talk about. There has to be an agreement
Yes.
between. Sorry. Next slide.
Next slide. Sorry, Ev.
That's good.
Okay. Okay, so obviously one of the big things when it comes to youth is actually the education part of it and the opportunities that we can give for youth. I can say that all four of us are in barbershop because of some of the amazing youth opportunities that we've had. Um, there needs to be a path for progression if you want not just to expose youth to barbershop, but to keep them in it and have them engaged for life. So learn could be something like your chorus or the region having like a youth festival that's one day. They learn a song, they learn about the barbershop art form, they create friendships and community. And then you're like, okay, I know what barbershop is now. I know what Sweet Adelines is. But bridging the gap to actually having opportunities to perform outside that is also really big. So, like Christina brought up, our chorus having the kind of summer guest night thing. I know some other choruses do like holiday show guest periods, I guess. And that's kind of a great opportunity for young people to test it out for a second, because usually it's free and a kind of low commitment in terms of time. And it can kind of be like a good test period to be like, okay, I can perform with you on this one show, but I'm not going to be a full member yet. And those are cool opportunities. And then obviously, if they join, allowing younger people to be trusted with some leadership is also really valuable in terms of making us feel like we have a part in the organization. And also just everybody knows that there always needs to be somebody ready to go. You know, if somebody steps down from the finance position after doing it for 40 years, there needs to be a young person that feels confident and ready to step into some of those leadership roles, so that there's not a turnover problem within your chorus. Um, so that's a really big thing in terms of getting people from doing a workshop to being in it forever. Age appropriate learning styles, I will say if they're joining your chorus, they're probably going to be at least teenagers and can kind of follow along with most of the strategies that we're using teaching wise. But one thing I did want to bring up was kind of along with chorus culture and sense of belonging and inclusive language. Sometimes if you're using like an example or a cultural reference or a celebrity, some choruses will be like, in this section of the song, I want us to act like Marilyn Monroe. You might have a young person who doesn't really understand what that means. Obviously, we know who she is, but that might not be relevant to us as much. Um, so trying to use different generations of cultural references, and things like that can also make a really big difference. And opportunities, this is a big one for youth, the camps, youth quartets, the contests and conventions. We understand that for the majority of our chapters, there are not going to be like youth quartets that are competing in Rising Star 5 times like I did. um, but this can be, if the opportunity arises, huge and something that your choruses need to be investing in if possible. I know that when I and two others of us were in a quartet in high school, we did go to Rising Star. We went to regional. And our chorus was really integral in supporting us financially and also just making sure that we had, um, we knew how to register for things, that we knew where to get music from and stuff like that. Because obviously it was our first time in the barbershop world, and I know that we couldn't have done any of that without the leaders in our chorus and in our region stepping up and helping us do that. And I can probably say that if the four of us hadn't had the opportunities to actually go do stuff like that, who knows if we would still be in Sweet Adelines today? I don't know. Who could say? Um, but obviously, you guys know about Rising Star. We won that. So that's a cool opportunity for kids to go to. We have here in Syracuse, we have a festival called Sayaka Fest. And we actually just were the clinicians a month. Was that this month or last month? I don't know. Recently. And there was like over 200 kids. So that's something that if y'all are in the area and want to send kids to that, that is a super cool event. You can have your groups perform, youth quartets perform, school groups perform, and you can also just do the festival chorus. Um, we used to have Lakeside a cappella camp, which was something we all attended. Those things are hard to put on. I'm going to say that if you are interested in finding out more information about how to set up a festival or a camp, reach out to Amanda Sky Harris. Um, she's the lady you need to be speaking to. And then show them what's possible. Just making younger people aware that there are younger people in Sweet Adelines that are achieving great things. Not only is there Rising Star, but there's so many people that have won crowns as a young person, 25 and under, or chorus directors as young people. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to wait until I'm older to be trying to achieve things. Okay. Any questions about any of that from anybody?
Katrina, I was just gonna mention something with Sayaka Fest too about if there is a camp, whether it's Harmony Explosion, whether it's Sayaka Fest, whether it is any event or your course is able to host a camp and sponsor a camp like Sayaka Fest in your area, Having as many members of the chorus available to perform on the show for that camp too is huge. I stumbled across the other day. My first barbershop experiences was at Sayak Fest in 2015. And 2 days later, I emailed Spirit of Syracuse and said, I watched you perform on the show. How do I do this? And I remember as a 15-year-old sitting in those seats watching the choreography and just barbershop and seeing the cohesive unit that is a Sweet Adelines chorus and just being fascinated. And I seriously don't think that I would be doing this if Spirit of Syracuse did not perform on that show. Sorry, that was it.
I think too, we were lucky in that we were in the one stretch of time where there was a youth chorus called Scarlet too, and we got to go compete at the BHS Midwinter Conference. And I think that, like, aside from Sayaka and Spirit of Syracuse, I really think that was a huge part of our journey as well. And that is a humongous thing to take on. Like, and I have no idea what it would take to do something like that. So that's another thing, like, Scott Harris is a person to talk to about that. But like something like having an opportunity, maybe if you have the ambition to start something for younger members, like 18 and under, say, like while they're in high school, and those the proximity base of all those kids already going to school together, like already being in a community together is a great thing to have, especially because like our rehearsals for Spirit of Syracuse are 7 to 10 on Tuesdays, and like that's pretty late for like a 15-year-old. So like Scarlett and us, I'm tired. And like we had Scarlett on Sundays like midday, and that was like a really great opportunity for us to sing barbershop like and also the music was, I would say, a little simpler than what we do in Spirit of Syracuse. So it was like a nice jumping pad where a lot of us who started in Scarlet were like, I want to do more of this. Where can I get more of this? And that's where like we kind of funneled into Sauce. So a ton of our youth members now are still core members from Scarlet too, which is really cool. So like if that is something that people in your course have the ambition, or you have like music educators with you that would be willing to make something like that, that could be a really, really great thing to like transition those kids into your course as they grow too.
I think the funnel is a really good example of what we're talking about here because you don't necessarily want to just force feed a child all of this barbershop at once because I think one of the core reasons why we stayed is because we were getting it in little increments. And then we kind of built our love and fascination and interest off of those little experiences. So we weren't necessarily thrown into something full force, having that financial commitment, that time commitment, that the social commitment part. We weren't necessarily all thrown into something like that full force. So the fact that we were lucky enough to sort of funnel ourselves into all of a sudden now being into this big organization, starting from this little itty bitty one day youth camp that our school chorus was sort of forced to go to. The funnel in this scenario, I feel like is so crucial when you're talking about sort of dosing barbershop in a small fashion to not overwhelm people because that can be also, even in not only just youth, but even in regular women in harmony, that can be something that strays them away because it's overwhelming, all at once. So having something like that to kind of ease them into the crazy lives that we're living right now is very, very important.
I'm chiming in because I'm like 15 to 17 years ahead of you, but like I joined the chorus in my early 20s, right? So there's a lot of stuff that I just want to chime in and be like, it's still happening or it's still an awareness. And like, yes, I had that too. And like, say some of those things. Like, mine wasn't the hey kid when I joined. Mine was the are you even old enough to drink? And like, for like how many years? And I was like, yes, I joined this course after I graduated college, right? So like, versions of that. Or interestingly enough, while I do super appreciate the funneling thing, to go to what Katrina was talking about, some of us are like, I'm here and I'm all in now. So also making sure that those people who show up in that way aren't made to wait either, right? And like me versus some of my other friends who joined very similarly close to me have had very different experiences of that, where I was lucky to both have people who are like, hey, I think you might be good at this, and step me into some stuff. So I was like the regional Young Women in Harmony coordinator while I was a Young Woman in Harmony, things like that. And other people who were maybe more on the music side and were given a little bit more of like, oh, you have to wait your turn, little girl. And she's like, I have my master's. I don't have to wait for anything. Like, I get that I'm still learning this style, but like, that's not how you tune that in any style. You know what I mean? And not being like, you've been barbershopping 10 seconds, you have to wait. So that whole like learning opportunities or learning styles, there's also kind of a joining styles. I think is a thing to think about. Right down to the fact of you could have someone who wants to be there so much, but like has more social anxiety than other people, so needs to join in a quieter way than like I would, or different things like that. So I love you guys. Keep talking. I'm going to stop interrupting you now. I just need to be like, yes, 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 yes. Also me, yes.
Well, and it's interesting because I joined when I was like 27, 28. And it was like, oh my God, we got this job for you, and we got this job for you, and you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do that. And again, it's similar, it's different stages, but it's not overwhelming. It's identifying and working with the person as an individual and seeing what they want, where their interest lies, and not overwhelming, like you were saying. Additionally, we come in and it may be either backing off or it may be too much. So there's that fine line in between, of that youth membership, of identifying them as being too young or as being, we've got this job and we've got this job and we've got this job.
I seriously think that a lot of that ties into the like your first impression. A first impression of a person meeting a chorus plays a lot into that too, because if you're joining at 15, you might be viewed by some members of your chorus as that 15-year-old that they met you as for a while. Whereas if you're coming in at 26, 27 years old, you're being met in a young, you're typically young in your professional career. You have a lot of energy and excitement to do things. So then you might have more things thrown at you. Whereas someone who is then 26, 27, but joined when they were 15 might be viewed in a different way because they were met as the child. So I think kind of like I mentioned earlier, growing with your members and realizing that just because someone joined when they were 15 does not mean they are 15 forever is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. You can move to the next slide while I'm adding on to that. Totally what Alexis was saying was really ringing true to me because I actually have a little bit of a different experience as well, just for some background about me, because it's relevant. I joined Spirit of Syracuse in high school with the rest of them, and then when I went to college, I moved to Nashville and I joined Metro Nashville Chorus and was a member of them and an assistant director and a whole bunch of other things for 7 years. And so that kind of gave me a different perspective too, because then I had to join another chorus as an 18-year-old. And what Alexis was saying is very true too, because I know myself at 18, like I was fully bought into Sweet Adelines already. And, I was super into like, oh, I need to be like stimulated and challenged and doing stuff. So when I got there, um, I mean, it only took probably less than a year for me to be a section leader and on the music team, and then I became an assistant director shortly after that. I also was a regional Young Singers and Harmony coordinator for Region 4, and I ended up becoming a certified director now. So I know that if I kind of went there and they were like, sorry, you're 18, you can't do anything, I probably would have gotten bored and frustrated and skedaddled. So that's a really good point to make. On to barriers. I'm going to be speaking a lot from my personal experience and probably the other girls from their personal experience as well. But I can say that this is the biggest reason why a lot of young singers are leaving. As a Young Singers and Harmony coordinator and also someone who's been competing in Rising Star for, since I was 17, I have asked so many young people who used to be super into Sweet Adelines like us and then have left or left to go to BHS sometimes, which we'll talk about in a second. What are the reasons why you left? And a lot of these are it. Sometimes people don't have a car. When I moved to Nashville, I didn't have my own car and I had no way to get to rehearsal or coaching or anything. But what Metro Nashville did was they literally made a spreadsheet of members to rotate to give me rides to rehearsal every single Tuesday and to everything else. Um, so sometimes being just extra supportive and going above and beyond in making sure that a younger person like has a ride, that's just one big difference right there. Also, we all know that money is a struggle. And in this economy, as a young person, especially a college student as well, um, that's going to be probably the biggest factor that everyone I've talked to has said, I couldn't do Sweet Adelines anymore because it was too expensive. This is part of the chorus culture, I think that Ev has been talking about. Obviously, it's not in the cards for every chorus to completely financially support every young person they have. But I will say that for a lot of us, having things like angel funds or just anonymous donors that help us out along the way is the only reason we've been able to stay in this. Um, when I was in Metro Nashville, once again, like there were so many times where I was like, I can't, I can't afford regional. Like I can't afford the international all events badge or, the $200, you know, hotel situation we have. And pretty much every time our finance person would come to me and say, we need you there. Someone got you. You don't have to worry about it. Um, and obviously we are all so, so grateful for all of those wonderful angels. And like, that's something that we understand that not every chorus just has money growing on trees, but it's part of the chorus culture that sometimes people, if they're able, are willing to step up and help young people, when they're struggling in that way. Um, and did we ever, this is a question for my other people, figure out if the half dues situation was from international?
Yes, so Spirit of Syracuse offers the youth dues, half dues, and it's recommended, and that's in our standing rules. It's recommended by SAI, it's not a mandate.
Okay, good to know. So half dues, real game changer. We are in our chorus, we also have opportunities like riser, setup, and takedown, in which you can also have dues discounts as well. Okay, good, yeah. So things like that, opportunities to like, oh, be on this team and you can get money off of dues. Those are wonderful opportunities for youth as well. The fear of not being good enough. This we've kind of covered this a lot with and just in terms of belonging, but making sure that any younger person that comes in knows that their skills are valued as well, and that just because they haven't, been in the organization for a long time or, didn't study music or whatever, that every member is valued and that everyone belongs there. Another big barrier is the parent situation. Sometimes parents just aren't really sure what the heck this crazy, glittery situation is. Um, so having parent meetings and inviting them to things and your leadership kind of having a going communication with the parents really makes a difference. Um, Speaking from my own personal experience, like I was saying, I know that if I had walked into Metro Nashville Chorus at 18 in a new state with nobody in the entire South that I knew, no family, completely financially supporting myself, if I had walked in and said, hey, like, I don't have a car and I also don't have any money and I don't know how to do this, but I want to be here, and they were just like, sorry, like, goodbye, we wouldn't be here. you know, with everything that I've been able to do. And, now we want to be in Sweet Adelines forever. I'm always starting my campaign for international president, so vote for me in 30 years. Um, and so that's what I really wanted to emphasize because I want you to really think that every member under 26 that comes into your doors could be the Sweet Adelines international president someday, and you guys can make a difference in that. In just literally being like, hey, I know you're in a different state for college. Do you want to come over to my house for a home cooked meal? Like stuff like that. Being our moms, I always say this, like being our family, our siblings, our moms, Ev being our auntie. That is the stuff that keeps us here. Period. You guys can add stuff if you want.
No, I think that just goes to show that friendship, if you're in your head saying, well, what do you mean friendship? I can't be friends with a 18-year-old. Friendship has different levels. Ev has been our supportive auntie since we were 15, and she's one of the reasons that when I stopped singing all throughout college and I came home, I thought about all of the people that I had met and had supported me even when I was away in college and was not singing in Sweet Adelines or at all. People connecting with me through Facebook and people staying in touch with me, reaching out to me every once in a while, texting me to see how things were, even though the last time they saw me, I was an annoying teenager at rehearsal. That's what kept me coming, or that's what got me to come back after I had graduated college, moved home, started my big girl job, and started adulting. And I am very glad that I'm back, but I don't think I would be without the friendships that I made with chorus members as a youth.
Can I
Ev's
just touch on
crying.
the busy schedule thing? I think a little bit more on like a barrier with especially teenagers, well, and college students, like a lot of teens, like they're in sports, they're in musicals, they're in like chorus will not, this is the reality of the situation, like on their priority list, it's probably not going to be their highest. And I feel like that's just something you kind of have to accept if you want to have like those youth members and knowing like what is your plan going to be about that because they're probably not going to be there every single week or they might have to miss things because they might have like a chorus concert or the big football game or like different things and like setting your priorities right with the youth, each other, your membership team, and then making sure your chorus knows that too. Because the last thing you want is for a youth member to come in and them feel like they know an expectation and the membership team like they know like think they know the expectation, but then a member being like, "Oh, so glad to see you show up this week." And that is also a reason why young people might stop coming because they're like, "Oh, I feel like I shouldn't be here anymore because this person in the chorus thinks I'm not
Make sure
doing
you
enough."
silence the haters. Do not let the haters
Yeah.
touch any new members. Well, really anyone really, but like please silence the haters.
Yeah, and
Only.
it's hard if you're, especially for college students, because like, I mean, I stopped chorus when I went to school because it just wasn't a reality for me. But like Tuesday nights, I always had a night class. I would have never been able to go to chorus. And it's like, what do you do in that situation? So it's like you have to think about those things too, which I mean, I'm when you're in adulthood and you have a job, I'm sure like obviously your schedule is busy too, but it's just knowing that when you're young, like your priorities are a little different than when like you can choose to go to do things when you're older and have money and adult things. Like, I don't know. Am I making sense here?
Yeah. I just see that Deanna had a comment about social media. I wanted to touch on that because I actually don't think we put anything in the slide about that. But this is huge. Um, Pretty much like in both of my courses that I've been in, when young people come in, I say, "Oh, like how'd you find us and what drew you in?" And they'll say, "Oh, I saw some of your posts on Instagram or Facebook." And having visible, like fun videos and pictures. I don't know about everyone else's choruses, but I know that our chorus has a ton of fun and we're always laughing and being silly. And being able to show that on your social media, um, that makes people, any member really, feel more comfortable being like, okay, I'm gonna walk into this new place. But I kind of have been able to see online what their atmosphere and culture is like. And TikTok, if you have a savvy person on your team, my Metro Nashville, we did like a Chapel Roan hot to go. I arranged a tag for it and we did a video, and like we literally had people come to rehearsal because of that. And it's so stupid because it's like a social media trend, but it like works. It actually works. So if you have somebody on your, marketing team or just any member who is more social media savvy for our generation, that's huge, I think. Okay, next slide.
All right, everybody, how are we hanging in there? This is the part I think now where we kind of buckle in and we say, okay, we have a young person. Now, what do we do with them? Um, the when I was looking into this slide as a person, so I'm one of the people who, when I came back to the chorus, I was asked to do everything, and I'm still doing everything, but in a more healthy way. So this is more so my speed as far as the administrative stuff. Um, so when we talk about administrative readiness, it's not necessarily just safety and policies and procedures. It's also involvement between management team, membership team, the chorus as a whole. So in this respect, it has a lot to do of if a person under the age of 26 walks into your chorus, do you have the proper policies, people, things in order, to take care of all of the ongoing legwork that takes place when youths are involved in our lives? Um, Creating clear youth policies. So as we've kind of touched on, so I just turned 26 in September. So I've now graduated to a quote regular woman in harmony. I'm no longer a youth. um, and just that experience alone, having gone through, under 18, 21, 26, I feel like I have sort of experienced that, obviously, all across the last 8 or so years of my life, crammed into like 30 days. Um, Knowing the difference, I think, between your youth members that are coming in that are specifically under 18, that are specifically 21 and older, and then everyone kind of under the umbrella term of under 26 as youth. Um, I'll touch a little bit as I kind of dive deeper into this. What we have as the Spirit of Syracuse have different, and I'm sure that it's this way um, for international too, but we have different policies and forms that are put in place for youth members, specifically for those that are under 18, involving more parent or guardian involvement, specific policies that are for, for youths that are over 21, and then again having somebody in charge of who's under 26. So having the proper documentation is so very important. Keeping track of um, who is under 26 in your chorus, making sure that financially they are, they have the right commitments, they have the right, they're paying the right amount of money, that kind of thing. Having something to do, like Katrina touched on, like having transportation accommodations or policies in place, having photo and media consent forms for youths, I feel like is a big thing these days now too, because not everybody wants their faces online, or not everybody wants their kids' faces online too. So, and it could be for a multitude of different things, and that is where boundaries kind of come into play too. Um, so if it isn't written consistent, accessible, then it isn't protective to your chorus and to your youth members. Having trained adults and safe chorus environments is another kind of big overarching topic that we'll talk about. And if you take away anything from my little section of the slides here, it's having a youth coordinator is so crucial in keeping youth involvement in your chorus. We are lucky enough to have a youth coordinator that has experienced youth a little bit more recently than some of our members. And I feel like when I made the transition from 25 to 26, I felt like she did a really great job at kind of navigating me through that. I had a lot of questions, especially financial questions too, because now I'm all of a sudden I have to be paying a lot more money for all events badges, for regionals, for things like that that would be considered youth at first, having that transition um, to adulthood, but having that designated youth coordinator, somebody that is a clear point of contact for your youth members, a clear point of contact also for parents and guardians too, is a big thing. Not only just involving the membership or the membership team, the management team, and the team leader, but having a youth person that's involved with the parents too, I feel like can alleviate some of that stress or some of that, the anxiety that might come with having your child attend something that is sort of out of their own comfort zone. Um, Oversight on having, somebody who is well versed in all of these policies and safety things, that can take care of documentation, that can take care of supervision, that can take care of events and leadership transitions. Again, like Katrina had said, if something happens and there's a turnover, excuse me, between leadership, making sure that this person either stays consistent or is trained to follow that new kind of wave that comes in. Um, the other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit off of that one is having the importance of having a youth coordinator is having somebody. I know that when I was a youth, like I had Rachel, our youth coordinator, I had her to go to for things that specifically pertain to youth. If a 15-year-old member comes into your chorus and needed to ask questions, report a concern or a disgruntled member, something like that. If they had something that happened, would they know exactly who to tell? Was kind of the biggest opinion that I had when going through all this stuff. Um, Another thing is having trained and trusted event sponsors and mentors that we can take to overnight accommodations like Vocal Fest, like regional, like international, like I said, any overnight events that we have are typically, and Ev, you can kind of correct me if I go through any of this, but parent and guardian participation is heavily encouraged and sometimes mandatory for these kinds of things. Back when I was in high school, I know that my parents were not always able to come with us to regionals. So that was a part where we had a chorus sponsor. It was essentially like I don't want to say babysitter because that kind of feeds into the whole kid thing, but having someone that was
Chaperone.
yes, chaperone for when when we went to regional, having a chaperone for me because I know that my parents had to work or they couldn't we couldn't necessarily afford to have another hotel room with us. So having a chaperone and having somebody who is a trusted person that can be that chaperone is so important if it can't be a parent or guardian. Have you unmuted? Are you going to say something?
Well, what I was going to say is I don't discourage choruses that do not have the youth members that they could have as the youth coordinator, because for the longest time, Kathy Zubel Storings did it, and she was a mom of teenagers. So it was someone that the mom, that the parents, the guardians felt comfortable with because she could speak the language versus some of the others that could not. So don't be discouraged if you do not have youth members that can act as coordinators. It's all one step at a time, and there might be someone who is very fluent in talking to the youth.
I think too with like parents, I'm just thinking back like to regional and especially like Rising Star and stuff. I think our moms would like rotate who came to what. Because I was like, did we have a chaperone? I was like, oh yeah, my mom went. But like it was like they don't like the one parent doesn't need to come to everything. So like it's kind of like important to emphasize like if you have a cohort now of youths, like maybe their adults can like rotate who's going to what so that they don't feel like they're also committing to this. Because I remember like I feel like Katie's mom went to something and then like my mom drove to something and then another friend's mom drove to something and it just kind of helped that along too. maybe we can get some dads involved too, barber dads up in here.
Yeah, I think speaking to the parent thing, and not all parents are always going to understand what this new crazy world that their child is interested in is. I know my parents are not musical at all. I went to Sayaka Fest and I told my mom I wanted to join Spirit of Syracuse, and she wasn't. I love my mother, and she was always supportive of any of my endeavors, but being in a tight financial situation already, especially because she didn't understand what specifically I was getting myself into, she was not always the most financially ready to prioritize Sweet Adelines for me over some other things that she may have more of a specific focus on in her life. And then same thing with traveling. I know Christina's mom was always great about accompanying us to things, but my mom, I also have a brother that's 10 years younger than me. So wasn't always able and didn't always have the means to be able to go travel with us for a weekend. And in situations where a parent cannot directly be involved, trying to form a relationship with that parent so that they then feel comfortable enough to trust your child to be with them on those types of events is important as well. So trying to break through to the parents is can be interesting, but helpful once they kind of understand what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, having these policies in place not only protect and encourage youth involvement, but they also protect your chorus. Because you never want to run into a situation where, something happens under the youth umbrella that will somehow, go beyond the level of your chorus. So just protecting, not only, cover your butts, essentially, is what that means. The training and orientation portion of this section is also pretty important. I'm not going to sit around and beat a dead horse because we've already talked about a lot of this stuff, but having, this is going to sound a little crazy, but having onboarding training, for new members, and also incorporating your current members into that can also be important in the way that youth specific orientation for your leadership can be very important. Like I keep referencing Katrina, but we have similar slides. But having those youth kind of trainings and getting yourself acclimated to what are the kids talking about these days? What are some pop culture events that are happening in current day that might tie into things that you did when you were a kid, or things like that. So having the knowledge and just keeping it in the back of your mind um, for current events and things like that are important because they can come up in conversation and they can all tie into that socialization and friendship piece too. But then also making sure that all of your members know what to do when a youth person comes into your chorus. Because sometimes if we as the youth people do not want to be treated like aliens. We are here for singing, and we're here for the glitter, and we're here for the community. But we don't want to come in just because we're a youth and all of a sudden, like everybody has been saying, like be viewed as a child or be viewed as, well, our chorus is has an average age of so and so, and someone comes in and they lower that average age. They don't want to be known as the outlier. So making sure that all of your members too are also included in that training portion of, learning about youth membership and involvement. Ongoing education is not necessarily just one-time training. So keeping that in mind. The respectful language and behaviors we've talked about already, but just being mindful of generational awareness and boundaries, cultural awareness and inclusion, I feel like is another big thing that we have talked about, but not necessarily speaking about youth. Never speak about youth and not speak to them. Don't dismiss ideas that they might have because it challenges tradition. That's something that we as a chorus, I feel like have run into a couple of times where a youth person comes in and they have a cool idea, but we have to, tweak things because it might not be the way that we've done things for the last 20 or 30 years. So just being more open to things like that. They might not always be the right answer. I don't always have the right answers. And I love to run my mouth in management team meetings because I feel like even just to open up the conversation about maybe trying things a different way can be so helpful in the long run. Um, and most of the time, what we've been seeing is that the youths are not leaving because they're young, they're leaving because they feel small. So making sure that you're including them in all of these things, and again, being respectful. When we treat youth members like projects, they then become visitors. And it's not necessarily something that keeps them consistent. You know, you want them to feel like they belong here. I think that was all I had for that one. The parent and guardian portion of this and having them kind of buy into the community is also very important. Transportation is, again, can become a big thing, but being transparent about the policies and about the procedures with not only the parents, your current members, and also your leadership is so important. Having regular updates about what your expectations are, the upcoming events that the parents need to be prepped for, to kind of go off of that. You know, if we have regional coming up in a couple of weeks. If we have a youth member, we need to make sure that not only that youth member knows that regional is coming up in a couple of weeks, but that their parents also need to be aware that this is something that maybe there are forms that need to be signed before we go because it's an overnight accommodation, or trying to think of if there's anything else like logistically, but just making sure that the parents are aware that this is coming up and there are forms that probably need to be signed, and that they're going to be, they're going to be gone for the weekend. Financial transparency is also very important. Again, we've talked about that. Things like permission slips and medical information, making sure that all of their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted, just to make sure that if something were to happen while you're away, and if the parent isn't able to go and they're under a chaperone, that the proper things can, excuse me, so that those proper things can be in place too. But just to kind of close everything together here, we've talked about policies, we've talked about the training, we've talked about safety systems and respectful language, but the readiness isn't necessarily all about the paperwork. It's about the credibility and whether or not a young person kind of walks into your chorus and they say, I belong here, I feel safe here, this is a place where I want to be, and my voice matters. When our policies and procedures are clear, when our adults are trained, the language is respectful, and everything has some sort of consistency to it. It's not necessarily all over the place. And we're not expecting you to all of a sudden pick things up like that and have everything in pristine condition, because we're obviously all still working on things and everything is kind of going, we're always updating things and making sure that everything is current. But we don't just have to protect our young people in our chorus, we have to empower them too. Next slide.
I love this
I
picture.
love this.
You picture. Yeah, so like obviously our biggest passion and like purpose as a quartet honestly is like supporting the next generation and like just continuing to support the youth and keep Sweet Adelines going forever and ever. And so if you have any questions or like support or like literally anything ever, you can contact us here at our email. And yeah, yeah. We're
And I
so
know,
happy here.
Well,
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, it may seem like we talked a lot about our personal experiences, so I'm sorry if any of that went too far off the rails, but I really do think that having joined at the age that we did and want to continue our journey in Sweet Adelines throughout our entire lives, those personal experiences are important, and everyone's experience is different, but having 4 different experiences and trying to teach that is one of our biggest missions, I think, as a group. So,
And we know
and that is what
We literally wanted you here for that. Like,
exactly. That's what we
seriously,
wanted
wanted
you
your
here for.
perspectives, wanted your stories. Like, the only way you can do better is to know better. And so sharing what you have experienced is so valuable. And you never have to apologize for that, especially when you are the featured panelists.
Exactly. And I may do a little synopsis, but should we open it up for questions first? Because I have a couple of points from a course perspective. Um, because I really, a lot of what you said resonates so strongly because the reality is, we may be training for the future. And the mindset of the choruses and the chorus leadership and the chorus membership has, I believe, has to change to we want members, we want members, we want youth members to training for the future. I think some people sometimes say, well, what are we doing this for? We're not going to get new members out of this. Well, you know what? While the youth are here, the things that they are providing musically, energetically, I can, attest to it. Having youth members in the chorus just breathes new life and brings energy and enthusiasm. And musically, that's just way off the charts. But the realization that the life of a youth member is transient and it's not about necessarily today, it's for the lifetime of the organization. And you all attest to that, as does, Alicia. She joined, our co-director, joined the chorus when she was, like I said, 15 years old, went off to college, I think sang with Scottsdale for a year, came back. Never in her wildest dreams would she have thought that she would be the co-director. But it attests to what they also talked about training leadership. There's leaders in the making, and um, we have to acknowledge that. Like I said earlier, there's lots of things that are unique. But last time we had a discussion about how to attract women of color. Again, it's some of the same issues. And when I talk to someone in our chorus, it's, well, you gotta go where they are. The marketing and the promotion has to resonate. So that's why website, social media is important. Get them to hear the music. It's got to be good music. And ask. And one thing that struck me that Sky Harris, when I asked her a question about music educators, because there's lots of opportunities, and is seeking out music educators. It can't necessarily be about membership because they're going to be like, whoa, these are my kids. Are they are they going to be in a safe environment? It's got to be about the music. So it really resonates to what you were saying. And there's also, we talked about the music camps, the things in upstate New York. There's lots of things I think downstate that I'm not fully aware of. The Starlets, Long Island. There's
Adelines on
camps,
Long Island. There's the
the
Jersey
Adelets,
Harmony
Starlets.
Explosion.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
Yeah, Jersey Harmony Explosion in Caldwell every year. That's very big. Yeah. Mhm.
So looking into some of those things, which I don't, and just, one point when they were talking about Scarlet. So that was the youth chorus. Was it 10, 12 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah, about
So
10 years ago.
9.
right now, we've got you four, then three others who were members of Scarlet, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's pretty exciting. And who would have thought, So it's one step at a time, one piece at a time.
And
And
I think Katrina you were going to talk, I mean, we didn't really touch on the BHS thing, but I think like thinking really broad prospectively, like we just went to Midwinter in California, and that's like as an organization, you can see clear as day that BHS is investing in their youth, like 10 speed compared to us, and like between choruses and all these youth quartet competitions they have going on, it's like Sweet Adelines should be looking at that and maybe upping their empty a little
I'm
bit.
going to do a little PSA for people who don't know what Midwinter is. Midwinter for Barbershop Harmony Society celebrates both those who are in youth and those who are the furthest away from having experienced the youth, um, as and many other things as well as education and stuff like that. But they've got the seniors quartet contest, and they've also got and there's different echelons now of the youth contest within BHS, but it's basically the high school kids quartet contest that happens, as well as a huge festival for all of the youth choruses, which I know Sky and a bunch of the Syracuse kids in various configurations have been to. The Adelines from Long Island, who I think are the longest standing youth harmony chorus sweet ads, who were started by Lindy Bortney, who was with Ramapo for many years. Still going on, all of that. They have won that, which was really cool. They won it when it was in New York City one year. So it's basically the middle of the year. They make sure there's shows every night with all of various medalists from different organizations, our queens, the Harmony Inc. queens. They make sure to get the Rising Star champs in there. They bring in the collegiate contest, which is the closest mapping Rising Star has to BHS. Let's call it that way. Our Rising Star is their collegiate contest, because that's just the 25 and under quartet contest. And so it's a very specific event where you can see that commitment to the youth very, very specifically. And so I just wanted to let that be known because it's a separate event that we don't have in some ways. Some of what they've been doing with having Rising Star and Diamond Division at the same contest with an education component, like that's been mirroring it a little bit. But again, we're different organizations. We don't have to match one for one. We do what we do. But it's just so people have the knowledge of what Midwinter is.
Yeah, totally different organizations. And I think I can speak for the four of us in saying that we are all Sweet Adelines through and through. And having the experience and privilege to go to Midwinter and perform on their show was just a testament to we can do this. Like youth engagement is important and it can be done. And we would love to be part of helping Sweet Adelines do that and from our experiences.
Hmm. Yeah, there was just one more thing that I wanted to add because I forgot to say it earlier. Our chorus has done something cool. I don't know how many times we've done it, but we did it this year where we did kind of like a high school student singing competition scholarship thing in conjunction with our fall show. So we reached out to a whole bunch of music educators in the area and then said that they could have students submit a video of them singing a solo. And then by like liking the video, I think, voted for, who we thought was the best. And then it was five, right? Five people. We had five students come and perform their solo on our show. And then we had kind of like adjudicators from local schools and stuff, kind of judge them and give them comments. And then we had a winner who got a scholarship. And actually, the winner of that has now been joining the chorus. So it was just a really cool opportunity to like think outside the box. Not all of those students are going to become barbershoppers, and that wasn't really the goal. But it was just a way to kind of align us with local music educators as a music educating organization. And then it ended up leading to somebody joining the chorus and her sister also being interested and potentially her mom. So it just that's something outside the box that I haven't seen a lot of other choruses do. So I wanted to throw that in there as a little sprinkle.
One more thing too, I guess. At like Katrina and I are both music educators, and like finding those opportunities within your school, if you do have music teachers in your chorus, like any opportunity I find to bring barbershop into my classroom, I'm doing it. Like we have like mini workshops coming up, and I signed up for like a 1 hour tag session for like fifth grade to eighth grade. Like how much can they actually do with me? I don't know, but I am gonna try to get them hooked on the barbershop bug because down the line they could join Spirit Syracuse like that. It's just like looking where can I put barbershop anytime I can. And I don't even think you need to be a music educator to do that, but finding if you work with the youth, where can you bring the barbershop?
Questions?
I have a question. So, and you kind of just answered that, Christina, sorry. If you didn't know Sky, what would be sort of like a big enough incentive to get you to check out a chorus? Now, assuming you have maybe a little bit of choral, experience in elementary and middle school, high school, whatever, what would be sort of like, a big enough draw for you as a person in the community, a young person in the community. And by the way, I just wanted to say again how proud we are of you guys. We're just so happy that, it's like seeing you, rise in the rising star world, but also you belong to Region 15. Yay! But yeah, I just was kind of thinking in more of a macro way, like, how do we get more youth interested? Like from a, I
Yeah,
guess,
I'll
global.
add something first because especially being from a chorus outside of the Syracuse situation, I had some of my best friends now that just completely organically found it. Um, what I see a lot is people who are either just graduated from high school and don't do music in college, or just graduated from college and don't have any more ensembles, and they're like Googling where the heck can I sing? I need a community. And that's what I see. And I think that was you in the chat, and like I discussed, um, being able to search up where can I sing in my city, and then seeing social media and pictures and videos and performances, and clear communication about where and when the rehearsal is. Things like that just make it be like, okay, I'm going to click on the one that has the really good cover photo, um, with people who look like they're having fun. Um, and that's like pretty much, we had somebody in our chorus that just is joining. She's 23 or something. I literally just asked her, how did you find us and why did you come? And she was like, I Googled it. I needed somewhere to sing and you guys looked really fun.
Okay.
And then I guess she did actually have fun, so that's good.
It is
Um,
now.
but I think a lot of it is people that are like, they are missing opportunities to sing from school. And then you just happen to be the most interesting thing that they see online.
And I think from
Awesome.
an even younger perspective, like 18 under, I think even if we hadn't had Sky, like, but I had an opportunity like say Aquafest or Lakeside, because a lot of the kids who were in Scarlet with us too didn't go to school with us. So like their only exposure was camps. And I think the only reason we caught the barbershop bug was because we did it. And like if you're just watching, that's one thing, but like to be actively singing, that's the best part. That's why we all do it. So you have to like find opportunities to get them singing and get them singing barbershop and be like, "Oh, I love singing, but singing these chords is like really sick."
Thank you so much.
I wanted to say, just share that in the Spirit of Syracuse chorus, a lot of people come because they know someone in the chorus, but we do get a lot of people just filling out the registration form online because they Googled us and said, that looks like a group that I want to check out.
Yeah, we currently have a member who is a student at SUNY ESF, which is right near Syracuse University here. Um, and I don't think she's from the area. I don't even believe
She's from Virginia.
okay, yeah, she's not even from New York State. And I know some people would look at that and say, oh, she's a college student. This may just be a temporary thing for her. But Spirit of Syracuse may be temporary if she moves back to Virginia or somewhere else after college. But Sweet Adelines isn't temporary, and she was exposed. And now we've opened the door for her and hope to continue to do so.
And the membership coordinator side of me says, listen to them talking about the importance of updated websites, social media. The picture that you present is really, really important. And it needs to be updated and it needs to be contemporary and really, first you have to know who you are. and what picture you want to present. And then you got to do it, because there's nothing worse than going to a website and not being able to find out what night are they rehearsal? Where are they rehearsing? What's the information? If it takes too much time, I'm looking on to something else.
And if you have questions, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. When it came up earlier too about having, if you've got someone who is excited about a social media platform and wants to go after it, doing that is important. Making sure they're aligned with everything else that the chorus is doing is really important, right? So the same way you want everyone in your chorus to know that, like, if someone who walks in who looks like they're younger than you, don't treat them like a kid, is the thing that we all just do or don't do, right? Same thing of when we post things, these are languages we do or don't use, these are ways we do or don't do that. And so a thing that's come up a lot recently, some people are like driving straight towards the membership and the marketing without doing the who are we thing. And you, even if you have a very quick sketch of we are community, we are fun, we are whatever your three big words are, even if you haven't done the whole core value
Mission, vision,
yet,
yeah.
which I do very much believe in. But you can do a kind of shortcut version of it to start with. You don't have to wait for perfect to jump in, right? So that's a thing. And then to go back to the thing before about, like, oh, the girl from Virginia, like, I can't even tell you, we've had, especially in New York City as Sirens, we'll have people who join and they get a job and they're gone, right? People who at their first night we welcomed them in, are that's the only rehearsal they've ever been to, but we were still like, okay, you're moving to Texas, you can reach out to Rich Tones, you can reach out to these ones, you can reach out to, and they have a network of humans to support them where they are in their life. And that kind of, again, connection and belonging are the things that keep people coming back. So it's every touch point that we have to make someone have a better day than they could have, right? Like, and obviously through music, that's the way we do it. But like, it all adds up. It all adds up.
More questions?
Can be about anything.
I don't have a question, but thank you for being here. You know, I think that each of you have offered something that all of us can use, and it's a wonderful reminder for every chorus. So thank you for that. One thing I did want to comment on was Evelyn kept saying, ask, 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 ask. She brought me into this chorus. She went to my job, and I was getting over bronchitis. I have to tell the short story. And I said,
Nothing short with you, girlfriend.
hold please. I said to her, I can't. I have strep throat and bronchitis. And so she's like, it doesn't matter. Just come. And I'm like, I can't. I said, I'm just getting over being sick. And so again, like when you guys were talking about being good enough, even if we're not youth members, many of us think we're not good enough. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to qualify with something. Beautiful reminders across the board. So, I mean, I think we all feel that, not just as youth members, but as members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the rest is history. I became a member. So here I am still years later. But I think that the connectedness, you know, with all of us, of just asking people, you know, and just using the network that was mentioned here, and I think by Alexis as well. I think all of that are avenues and venues that we can use to help each other.
And don't be overwhelmed. You don't have to do it all at once. It's little pieces at a time. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be from the heart.
And if you have questions, the four of us have perspectives from being 15 to being in college in a new city to joining after not singing for 5 years and to being music. Like we have all different perspectives within just the four of us. And then even beyond us, we have other youth members that you could talk to too and ask questions about. So we're always here, even if you don't have a question now, like let us know.
Yeah, feel free to reach out.
I think it was awesome. I remember Mackenzie when she used to stand next to me.
Oh.
I remember. And then when it's like some of you came back and I'm like, how do I know these people? I know these people. And it's like all of a sudden a time machine, and you have, you know, you're in teaching positions and you're working and you're adults. And I'm like, What happened here? Did something happen to me?
Can you guys
I
all
think
do the, would you mind doing the, this is when I joined, like
Sure.
each give us your, this is when I
Yeah.
joined, this is basically the then to now, and then end with like, and what is your professional life look like now, or, you know, stuff like that.
We all have
Yeah.
roles in the course now, so we can talk about that too.
yeah, I joined in the summer of 2016, which was right before I left for college. So then I competed at regional, no, it must have been the spring because I competed at regional one year.
So you were like
And then
17, 18?
Yeah, yep, 17, 18. And then I went to college immediately. So I took a break from chorus. I went to college out by Buffalo. So there wasn't, I took a break from singing, and that was what I needed. And sometimes that's what people need. So I went to college. I did no singing. I picked up a sport,
What
full,
sport?
full ultimate frisbee.
It's important information.
So good.
I picked up something that was completely different. Um, I kept in contact with people from the chorus, but then in 2020, at the end of 2021 or sometime in 2022, I was graduated at that point from college. I had came home, and I saw that Liverpool, one of our local high schools, was putting on a production, and at the time, Sky happened to be running things again. And I was like, man, it would be really cool if I went to go see them because we did the theater in high school, like we did the musicals. So my mom and I had gone to see their production, and I ended up seeing Sky afterwards. And she was like, "Are you back in the area? I had no idea. You should come to rehearsal." And then I think I went, that next Tuesday, and had that same feeling as Cindy, where I came back into the chorus and they were like, "Who is this person and why do we know them?" So then I feel like after that point, it was just kind of like nothing, no time had passed. It was all of a sudden like I was back to, there were a lot of newer faces that I hadn't met before, but all of the faces that had grown up with me had immediately welcomed me back. And, it was so funny seeing everybody again for the first time now as an adult and not as a 17-year-old. So I came back in 2022. Right now in my adult life is my big girl job. I work in early intervention. So I'm like a case manager, social worker for families who have kiddos with developmental delays 0 to 3. So I'm constantly working with people, with families, and everything. But after 2022, like I kind of immediately jumped back into chorus life. Like I started out, I was doing, oh God, I don't even remember where I started. I started out and I was on the music team. I'm a co-section leader. I'm the representative for the music team, for the management team. So I'm on both of those. I'm on the visual team with our choreography and doing all of our movement and dance, and those kinds of things. But that's because I like doing that stuff. I like being involved and doing all that, to make the community better. So that's my life story. I'm going to stop talking now. Somebody else can go, please.
Um, I I think I mentioned this earlier. Attended Sayaka Fest as a freshman in high school, saw Spirit of Syracuse perform, emailed them the next day and said, "How the heck do I join?" I went to some rehearsals, and then I was kind of on and off with the Spirit of Syracuse throughout high school. I think that a lot of that just had to do with financial and time commitment with other extra, I'm like looking for the word, extracurricular activities that I was
Like
in.
badass Irish dancing
I
or
was
something
an
like
Irish
that.
dancer. You might see that sometimes in our performances in the future. Um, I was in the musicals and things like that. So I was kind of on and off the chorus throughout high school, but always knew that those connections were made, and everyone was always very welcoming at times when I was able to go. I competed, I think, 2 years of regional when I was in high school. I was in a Rising Star Quartet that competed, and then
And medaled
my
at
last
regional.
yes, also a regional.
Third place
Um,
medalist.
I my last barbershop thing before college was Rising Star in 2019, and that was in like August. It was in England. We went, came home, and then I went to college. And then very quickly after acclimating to my college life, I realized that I just did not have the mental capacity, time, money, energy to sing at the time. So I my chorus knew that before I left for college that I wasn't able to continue throughout there. And they said, when you're ready, come back and we will welcome you with open arms, which that they did. And my quartet, I also took a step back from. COVID hit the end of my freshman year. Long story short, I didn't sing the rest of college, but I always knew that I was grateful to have a hobby that I could come back to when the time was right in my life. So those 3 years went by and I wasn't doing anything music related, came home as soon as I was back in the area. Similarly to Mackenzie, Sky and someone else from the chorus reached out to me and said, so when are you coming back? I think Deb Saki sent me a card in the mail and I saw that and I was like, oh wow, they actually want me to come back. Which was very nice and reassuring. The welcoming aspect of it was huge for me because I think that if I didn't have those reminders from people that I was remembered and thought of often, I probably wouldn't have felt as comfortable going back, especially because I was there and then left. It can always be a tricky situation, but I think ultimately most Sweet Adelines realize that life happens and this is a hobby where that when the time is right, it will be there. So the first year that I was back from college, I didn't sing at all. I think I tried to come back to the chorus for a couple of weeks, but very quickly realized that having just started my new 9 to 5 big girl job and I was living with my parents still at the time, trying to balance that was just not happening for me at the time. So I told the chorus, and a year later, I was settled in my job and said I was ready to go. So I rejoined and reconnected with my quartet, and we're singing, and here I am now. But currently, I am a bass, as we know. I'm on the management team as an associate member, so I'm just kind of there to listen and give input and learn the roles, which has been huge for me. I'm so grateful that I've had that opportunity because it's given me a whole different perspective into the administrative and business side of the chorus rather than just singing on the risers. Yeah.
And
I
what
think
does
that's-
what does
Newly
life look like for
engaged.
you outside of chorus?
Oh, yes, that. I'm like, what am I missing? I work at Syracuse University. I'm a research administrator, so all of the research that goes on within the university has grants and contracts and money that comes with it. So I sit there and negotiate all of the big contracts that come into SU for their research funding, which I didn't know that role existed until I started doing it. It's very interesting, and I love SU and the world of research. Go Orange.
Okay, I'll go next. Literally same event. I started at Sayaka Fest 2016 was my first barbershop exposure. I think I officially joined the chorus in late 2017. And then when I graduated high school, like I said, I went to Nashville. Literally the first week I was there, I reached out to Metro Nashville Chorus. Um, I became a section leader. I became director certified, RMT, all that good stuff. I actually won Rising Star once before. Um, and that was awesome. And I quartet coach, all that good stuff. And then last year, I was like, decided that I wanted to move back here to like be by family. And of course, I knew that I had Spirit of Syracuse waiting with open arms for me to come back. So I came back and just kind of hit the ground running. And now I'm a baritone section leader.
And I know you're a teacher, but what grade levels, just vocal music, what do you do?
Yep, I teach elementary school, kindergarten through 6th grade, general music, chorus, and directing the musical, and just,
Subbing for PE.
yeah, subbing PE every other day, pretty much.
Steph
So
Olshinsky has a similar story. You should talk to her about it.
Think of
Constantly-
everything a teacher could do. It's what Katrina's doing.
And more.
And more. Okay, I'll go. So I similarly to Katie went to SAGFest and then I was like, oh yeah, I want to be in sauce. So I also I joined when I was like 15 and then continued. I tried to stay through my first year of college, but then, COVID hit. So I wasn't really about the Zoom chorus. Love everybody, but But I think that was like my time. And then I went to school for 6 years because I got my bachelor's in vocal performance, and then I got my master's in music ed. And then my year I was getting my master's, I like begged to move home halfway through. So I was lucky enough to student teach in Syracuse. I was going to school in Rochester. So when I was student teaching, I like ran back to the chorus because it was like kind of close to regional. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. So I rejoined the chorus like right when I came home and have been in now for like a year and a half. And now I'm a lead section leader as of like 2 weeks ago, which is awesome. And uh oh, I'm a music teacher too. And I actually teach at a school that is like literally a mile down from where we rehearse in Spirit of Syracuse every week, which is really cool. So I teach at a 5-8 building, but I teach mainly fifth and sixth graders. And a lot of them actually came to Sayaka Fest and have now caught the barbershop bug too, and are like obsessed with our quartet and always ask me how particularly Biggie is. They love Mackenzie, who we call Biggie. They're her biggest fan. So yeah, hopefully my kids will get the as they grow. And they're too little now, they're 10. So, but as they get older, I would love to see them get more involved in the barbershop world too.
But it's
There's
nice
a
to see that they have their own Sky Harris. They have
Aw.
their own person to kind of go off of, and that's where that because you don't have to be a music teacher to bring people into the chorus. Does it help? Sure, because you have that background already with the music education side of things. But at the same time, you could be pulling like Evelyn and Cindy, like you could be pulling people off the street and and asking them to join your chorus, and that works too.
Christina, there's a couple of music educators down in Jersey who do a bunch of work with the younger kids specifically.
Oh,
Remind
really?
me, and I'll try and get you connected with
Please, that'd be
them.
great. I'm trying to make it
Because
a club at my school, so that would be awesome.
one of them is the guy who basically started the Quintones. He started the Quintones
Oh,
Quartet
oh
with
wow.
them. And then there's them, and there's another one. And they show up at the Caldwell Festival every year. And this like middle school group of kids puts on the best performance of anyone all day.
Wow.
Like they just get up there and they're like, angst, we're
They're
in
so into
sixth
it.
grade. But they just like sing crazy
Mhm.
good. And they're like this big. And it's the coolest thing I see every year.
Oh, my
So
kids were like trying to be front row at the 200-person Sakafest festival, and I'm like,
exactly.
It was so
oh,
great.
okay, guys.
Yes, we love to see it.
Yeah.
I also just really quickly wanted to add, because I forgot to say this during my section, doing barbershop and being in Sweet Adelines is the reason why I went to college and became a music teacher. I wasn't
Same.
planning on going to college. I was like, I don't have any skills. And it's literally the reason why I like have a career now. So that's
Oh,
another reason. Invest in your youth because you never know.
that made me think though, I'm sorry, not to beat a dead horse, but like with Lakeside, they also at Lakeside gave the youth they gave all of us opportunities to be leaders as teenagers. Like we got to be like, I don't know what the role exactly was, but we would be like in charge of a little group, and we could be like helpers with our part, or like we did little tag like competitions like with some of the olderish kids of the camp. And like that specifically, I always wanted to go for performance, and that in the camp was like, oh, I like this. I want to be a music teacher. So like not only did that make me want to continue barbershop, I was like, wait, I love teaching people how to sing just from that experience alone. So you
You've
never
wanted to
know.
be a music teacher forever.
Well, like yeah, but like that specifically, I was like, no, this is lit. You know what I mean?
Christina and I have been best friends since fourth grade, so seeing
Yeah.
her teach, watching her with her students at Sayaka Fest a few weeks ago really just it makes me
Aw.
emotional. That's my bestie.
All right, that makes you emotional. This makes me emotional.
Oh,
Good.
Thank you.
well, thank
Thank
you
you.
guys so
Thank
much.
you. Hope we didn't yap too much. Hope you enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
sorry.
No, I just have a couple of conclusion slides. Um, but know, everyone, know that they are available. And you've got people to ask, you've got people to ask. If you're approaching music educators, the best way to approach them, going to some of these festivals, maybe Alexis and I and Deb will work on some, if you know of some of these festivals that are taking place or these youth camps, maybe we need to, I know you advertise them, promote them on, social media, because they're all over our region. And I think today is a testament to what the meaning of those camps and festivals. These are just the Evelyn slides that I provided every single membership meet, and I don't really need to go through them because honestly, today this was what all that a huge part of what we talked about. Looking at your chorus culture, what's important, what keeps them coming, what keeps them staying from a youth membership perspective, and taking a look at the sense of belonging. Just be more you as a chorus. You got to know who you are, but you got to be more you. Um, and sometimes, as Alexis said, we see that as a big, the New Yorker in me would say a big Megillah, a big thing to have to take over. But it's not, just one step at a time. And then we did our questions and comments. The next membership meet is huge. And Alexis and I and Deb are going to get out this information ASAP. But the next one is about the convention experience, what it's all about. So all for you to send to all your new members, those who have not experienced a Region 15 convention. There will be a walkthrough by Deanna and Jen Hunter from the hotel to the ESPCC with commentary along the way. We will have your CC and CRC and all those things explained because we get a little carried away sometimes with all these acronyms that we throw out at these new people. But the head of the convention, chair of the regional convention, as well as the competition coordinator, will be on hand to do a little presentation and explain. So it's going to be, it's a fun time. Then we have our regional convention coming up, Artistic Leadership Day. Alexis, that is directors and musical leaders.
Yes, that's correct. It was one of those things where they're leaning towards making it so that there's Leadership Day one year and then Artistic Leadership Day the next year. So we want to make sure that we do give that specific targeted time to directors and music teams to be able to bond and focus on the specific skills that they need to lead and develop and feel good about that. And so it was one of those things where we're like Leadership Day, directors and music teams. I was like, I'm calling it Artistic Leadership Day. And they're like, yeah, no, that's right. So that's what it's going to be looking like going forward because when you have the power to change the branding, sometimes you do. So that's what that is about. And you'll be getting information about it. It's going to be upstate in Burnt Hills, which is capital region a little bit north of where we have convention every year, which will be great. It's one of those things where I know it's going to be wonderful for our choruses who do make their way down to Jersey for Vocal Fest every year to have some education up closer to them. And while I know it is a little bit of a haul for us who are from further downstate or the island or the city, it's a straight shot up the thruway, y'all. You're going to make it.
And so that's May 30th. The next membership meet, Becky was asking, is March 28th. And then we don't have any scheduled after that. So any ideas? I think we're leaning towards the finances again, and because I don't feel like we really had a lot more to talk about the last time when we talked about the role of finances in membership recruitment and retention. So, but any
Specifically,
idea
you mean for membership meet topics?
for membership meet
Just wanted to make
topics?
sure
Yeah,
since we're bouncing
sorry.
back and forth. No, it's okay.
And if you have any ideas, please feel free to let me know. Because we want to continue these.
And that's whether you have things that you have questions about that you would like to address or be in community with other people about, or if you have successes that you want to share. That's also a big thing. We want to make sure we're celebrating chorus success in lots of different ways, not just what it looks like to be successful at contests. And so, like, our last membership meet was great because it talked about the different ways that choruses in the region have been succeeding with membership drives, for example, or things like that. So if there are wins that your chorus has been having, let us know. Maybe we have a membership meet that's just all about the different wins different choruses are having. I don't know.
And then our Vocal Fest 2026 is September 18th through the 20th with Nikki Blackmer, which I think should be absolutely amazing. She directs A Cappella Joy Chorus and is I forget what part in Frenzy, the Queen's
She's the
lead. She's the lead. Oh, that's right.
Diva.
She's
Queen Diva.
Queen Diva. How could I forget?
And we'll also have 3 choruses who will be going send off for International, Hickory Tree, Spirit of Syracuse, Sirens of Gotham. Holy poop, that's so exciting. And God only knows how many quartets we'll have, right? Because we've got all of these fabulous quartets who are already getting their automatic rebids. I didn't raise my hand, I just put it above my head. Stop being silly, Zoom. And who knows what's going to happen at regional with wild cards and champions and crazy things like that, because everyone is crazy talented. So Vocal Fest this year will be perhaps even cooler than usual. Who knows?
And thanks, Emily, for joining from Valley Forge Chorus. You just had Nikki Blackmer. That must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had her for our retreat and she was really awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was our last slide. Cool.
Thank you, 942.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Fabulous. Very, very good. Very
You
helpful.
regional.
This is all so important. Like, I know that we all come from different choruses, but as choruses kind of age and life gets lifier, it's so important as a region to kind of all come together like this and try to figure out ways to incorporate more people. And just props to Evelyn for doing this every month, because she is really gearing everybody together and giving the rah-rah that we all need to not only be as different chorus entities, but also be a solid region. So
Thank you. Love
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.